On March 20, 2025, President Donald Trump signed an executive order to eliminate the Department of Education. This bold move, announced at a ceremony attended by Republican governors and education officials, sent shockwaves through the nation. Trump justified the decision by claiming the department was failing American students. He pointed to declining test scores as evidence of a crisis in education. Trump and his supporters argued that the department was overrun by radicals and Marxists. They believe these individuals are pushing a harmful agenda on America's children. The White House insists that this move will return control of education to families and local communities. They believe parents should have the primary say in their children's education. However, the executive order faces significant hurdles. Congressional approval is required to permanently shut down the department. This approval seems unlikely, given the need for 60 Senate votes in the current political climate. Democrats have already voiced strong opposition, making it improbable that the necessary votes will be secured. Adding to the complexity, legal challenges are already underway. Democratic state attorneys general and civil rights groups like the NAACP have filed lawsuits. They argue that the executive order is unconstitutional and will disrupt essential educational services for millions of students. The lawsuits seek to block the order and prevent further layoffs within the department. Despite the legal battles ahead, the Trump administration is moving forward with plans to dismantle the Department of Education. The executive order appoints Secretary of Education Linda McMahon to oversee the closure process. McMahon, a staunch supporter of Trump's agenda, will be responsible for transferring the department's functions to other agencies or to state and local governments. One of the most immediate impacts of the executive order is a significant reduction in the department's workforce. Since Trump's second term began, the department has shrunk from 4,133 employees to 2,183. Last week, an additional 1,300 employees received termination notices. These drastic cuts have raised concerns about the department's ability to function effectively during this transition period. The executive order also prohibits the use of any remaining department funds for programs related to diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, or gender ideology. This directive reflects the administration's stance on these issues and its commitment to redirecting federal funding away from what it considers to be controversial programs. As the department prepares for closure, Secretary McMahon faces the daunting task of developing a plan to transfer essential functions to states and localities. This includes finding alternative mechanisms for distributing federal funding for students with disabilities, Title I funding for disadvantaged schools, and managing the complex system of federal student loans. The executive order has ignited a firestorm of controversy, dividing Americans along political lines. Supporters of the move, largely aligned with the Republican Party, applaud Trump for taking decisive action to reduce the size and scope of the federal government. They view the Department of Education as an overreaching bureaucracy that has failed to improve student outcomes despite massive spending. On the other side of the aisle, Democrats and their allies have condemned the executive order as a direct assault on public education. They argue that dismantling the department will harm millions of students, particularly those from low-income families and those with disabilities. They point to the department's crucial role in enforcing civil rights laws and ensuring equitable access to education for all students. The debate over the Department of Education's future has also reignited the long-standing debate about the role of the federal government in education. Conservatives have long advocated for greater state and local control, arguing that education policy is best determined closer to home. They believe that removing the federal government from the equation will lead to more innovation and accountability in schools. However, liberals counter that the federal government plays a vital role in setting national standards, protecting vulnerable students, and reducing funding disparities between wealthy and poor school districts. They fear that dismantling the Department of Education will exacerbate existing inequalities and undermine efforts to improve educational outcomes for all students. As the legal battles and political debates rage on, the future of American education hangs in the balance. The outcome of the lawsuits challenging the executive order will have far-reaching implications for the department's survival and the direction of education policy in the years to come. If the courts uphold the order, the dismantling of the Department of Education will proceed. leaving states and local districts to navigate the complexities of federal education programs without the guidance and oversight of a dedicated federal agency. The elimination of the Department of Education could have a profound impact on federal programs that support students with disabilities. The department plays a critical role in enforcing the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, which guarantees a free and appropriate public education for all students with disabilities. Without a federal agency to monitor compliance and provide technical assistance, advocates fear that the rights of students with disabilities could be jeopardized. Another area of concern is the potential impact on federal student loans. The Department of Education manages a massive portfolio of student loans totaling trillions of dollars. Dismantling the department would necessitate transferring this responsibility to another federal agency, or potentially privatizing some aspects of the student loan program. Such a move could have significant consequences for borrowers, particularly those who rely on income-driven repayment plans or loan forgiveness programs. The closure of the Department of Education would mark a pivotal moment in American history, signaling a dramatic shift in the relationship between the federal government and education. The long-term consequences of this decision remain uncertain, but one thing is clear: the future of American education is at a crossroads.